Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the final NASEO Financing Committee meeting of 2025. We're glad you could make it through another good year, and we're excited to have you here. I'm Sam Kramer, Senior Program Director with NASEO, joined here by several great speakers. We have a really good lineup for you talking about SEP funds and how they can support state energy financing programs. So with that, I will turn things over to Eddy Trevino, who is heading up our financing committee to get things going.
Thank you, Sam. Hello, everybody. Eddy Trevino, Director of the State Energy Office in Texas. And today we talk about leveraging SCP funds. We did talk about that recently, Sam, I believe, at the in the conference, didn't we? And so I think it's a good thing to know how to leverage your funds. We have three speakers with us today. Our first is Puck Stair. She's the Director of the Energy Conservation and Management Division for the New Mexico Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department. We also have Amanda McClinton. She's Executive Director for the Office of Energy at the Louisiana Department of Conservation and Energy. And we also have Manuel Wiese. He's a Senior Policy Manager at the Energy Office in the Arkansas Department of Energy and Environment. So what let's do is, Amanda, we're going to start with you. Tell us about your loan program and how you leverage SEP funds for some of the state energy financing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and do a little screen share here. I have a little presentation so I can stay on track. Let's see if I can actually find it. Um, did that share with y'all? Actually, I don't know what I did there.
It says you've started screen sharing.
Do y'all see? I guess the presentation did not come up, but let's see.
Not yet.
Let me stop sharing. I don't know what I did, but here, technical difficulties are always fun. I'm just going to share this screen and then bring it up that way. That seems to be my most logical way to do this. Okay, so as Eddy said, I'm the executive director for the Office of Energy here in Louisiana. We have actually had a revolving loan fund for well over 20 years, and I've been in the office in this role for about a year and a half, and in the office for about a little over 2 years now. And for quite a while, this was an enigma to me. I didn't really know how to handle it or didn't really get involved with it because we have two gentlemen who started this program and still work here and run this program. But in recent months, I've had to learn a lot about this program. So it's a good timing when NASEO came to me and said, "Can you talk about this?" Because I've actually finally kind of wrapped my brain around it and understand everything about it. So just to kind of give you kind of a rundown of where we started, we have two different funding sources. We first started in 2002 with about $2 million in seed funding, and we actually used PVE money to fund our revolving loan fund to actually start that fund. And I don't exactly know the exact account it came out of, but it was one of the more flexible PVE funding sources we were able to use. And then again in 2011, we were actually able to take our leftover money from the ARA grant funding and actually roll that into our revolving loan fund. So we actually have two separate funds within one account, basically. The early focus of this revolving loan fund, we mostly worked with schools and doing energy efficient upgrades in schools. And then we also had a residential program. Over time, it became a little more just harder to get through a lot of the red tape with schools to be able to work with them. And then our residential program kind of went by the wayside because our Public Service Commission actually started offering grant funding. So free money is better than loan money. So the loans are actually made available currently to public and private entities in the state of Louisiana. We do a lot of our eligible costs are for like purchase and installation of energy efficient equipment for energy efficient retrofits, installation of alternative fuel pumping systems in stations, and purchase of alternative fuel system vehicles, excuse me. So the biggest thing is because this was funded with SEP funding and ARA money, we do have to still comply with those rules and regulations of those grants and programs. The loans are offered at a fixed interest rate of 2%, and we never exceed a term of 10 years. And we do not have loan forgiveness. We've done a very great job over the years to not have any defaults on our loans. We do a lot of upfront research on who we're lending to ensure that, we have security in lending them those funds. So our current program is actually administered by our Louisiana Public Facilities Authority, and they've actually administered it since the beginning or the inception of our revolving loan fund back in 2002. They partner with a Louisiana-based bank and also work with bond attorneys and the bond commission for approval of the loans. And the bond attorneys have actually been some of our biggest promoters because they're kind of in those communities and know what's going on and are able to bring some of these projects to the table for us with very little marketing on our end. These funds are actually held in an escrow account at the bank. We do earn interest on the funds, and that does become program interest. I'm sorry, program income. As long as we're putting that back into the fund, we're able to use it and loan out more money. However, if we, for any reason, would do away with our revolving loan fund, that money would have to go back to the feds. And then we do charge a 2% administrative fee on each loan to just offset the cost with the administration here at Conservation and Energy. And one last thing I forgot. These are handled on an amortization schedule, and typically they're making loan payments twice a year. One is usually a large principal payment, the other typically goes mostly towards interest. As you can see, these are just our financial reportings. Our program size at its largest, about 14.9 million. We loaned out about 26 million and currently have about 18.4 paid back in principal. And that leaves us with about 6.5 million. That number, can vary from time to time depending upon how many loans we have that are active. If we're closing out a loan, we can typically have a larger balance. So these are just 3 projects that we funded. Actually, Plaquemines Parish is a current project that we're funding. During Hurricane Ida, they had 6 pumping stations, some that were actually wiped away, some that were just damaged beyond repair. So we are able to loan them funds to actually help them rebuild these pumping stations. They're building them above sea level, so that means elevating them, but also having that energy efficiency component to them to make sure that they're having some energy savings there. We just wrapped up this Jefferson Parish Bonnabelle project. It was basically taking out the old lighting and installing LED lighting on a pedestrian pathway. And you can see that they've had a 50% energy savings over time. And then one other project that we funded recently is with our Louisiana Tech University, actually replacing 2 of their end-of-life chillers. And they've had a really large energy savings annually from this. So the really great thing about the revolving loan fund is, it's just one of the many programs that we fund in our office. It's been one of our longest running programs, but we have 2 people that work full time on our revolving loan. And so we're able to utilize our SEP funding to actually fund their salaries to be able to administer this revolving loan fund. The other great thing is that we're able to shift funds out of our revolving loan fund to our state energy program if needed. There may be a project that we want to fund that, we don't want to do it through a revolving loan. There may be a grant that we want to give. And so we have that flexibility of moving funds in and out, obviously with the approval of our DOE program manager. And then we also we roll over any of our SEP funds that are unused at the end of our 3-year time frame. So we've been able to add to this fund in various years, depending upon, what kind of balance we have left over in our state energy program. Typically, we don't have a large balance, but any little bit of funding that we can add to our revolving loan fund helps. And then last but not least, we're just kind of talking, we've actually been talking a lot about the future of our program. We have a Louisiana Community Development Authority, and we feel like they would be a really great partner to kind of add into the mix along with the LPFA. They actually are more kind of boots on the ground in the smaller communities. And I think with there being so much more energy awareness out there, they're really great for us to get into these smaller communities and be able to do some smaller loans and funding improvements in municipalities, possibly their schools if we're able to go back down that road, and then hospitals. We also would like to help continue to invest in critical infrastructure. We have a lot of hurricanes, extreme weather events that come through Louisiana. And as you know, or may not know, but when the feds come in and give money to communities to repair utility poles, whatever it may be, they just give them enough funding to replace it to what it was, not to improve it or make it better. And so I think that this is where we could go into communities and really help them build out some critical infrastructure and make it more resilient during these extreme weather events. So that is pretty much the rundown of the Louisiana Revolving Loan Fund. I'll pass it back to you, Eddy. I know you got some other great presenters. I
Thanks,
gotta stop
Amanda.
screen
And if
sharing as well.
all right, Amanda, so we're going to take care of all of the questions that are submitted in the chat box or the Q&A box. But as you can see, you have time to prepare because you have 2 questions waiting on you at the end of the presentations. So next, let's go to Puck Stair, the Director of the Energy Conservation and Management Division for the New Mexico Energy, Minerals, and Natural Resources Department. And I have one question in advance for you, Puck. How
Oh, go
long is
ahead,
your
Eddy.
how long is your business card? It's got to be like 3 by
Oh,
9 with that long title.
Lord, I know it's the world's longest title. Yeah, yeah, add post-its. Yes. Thanks, Amanda. I was actually taking notes because there's some good stuff in how you're setting up your revolving loan program that we want to copy. So zooming out a little bit, here in New Mexico, we are taking a look at kind of the electrical financial state of play. And we've noticed that there's some things that are changing in the electrical, what we call the electrical financial state of play. So one is, in a real way now in this country, we're now actually facing the cost of the energy transition or the energy expansion, whatever phrase you want to use for it. It's a combination of factors from underinvestment in our grid infrastructure, new technologies like solar and batteries coming, new transmission, new load, EVs, data centers, all of that. And all of that comes with dollar signs attached. The second thing is, in a way, right now, there's a greater opportunity for states to take the lead. The federal government has changed some of the priorities and, as you know, taken down some of the tax credits. And so there's an opening now. If states want to take an active role, we can. Another thing we've noticed is the value of an electron is changing. And there's 2 primary reasons for that. One is, as our world becomes more electrified, electricity is really now infrastructure's infrastructure. So, in order for your water treatment plant to work, you need electricity. In order for your highways to work now, with all of the sensors and the cameras, you first need electricity. So electricity is becoming more and more central to other infrastructure as well. The other thing that's changing the value of electron is this ability with data centers to convert watts to bits, meaning the more electricity you have, the more intelligence you have, the more cures for cancer, the more drone swarms you can power, whatever it is. And that's a kind of, in a way, a new use of electricity. And so there's an extra value there. And I'm realizing as I look at the slide that bits should really only have 1 T, but you get the idea. And then the other thing is there's now emotions more at play. So with our extreme weather events and the grid going down and all of that, that there is a greater willingness among many Americans to pay premium for residential generation and storage, even above what they would sort of cost on the market. Because there's something really powerful about your home being your castle and you're being able to power your home no matter what's going on in the world around you, fires and floods. And so when you have emotions at play in a financial market, people are willing to pay sometimes even more. And so given that the kind of electrical financial state of play is changing, in a way, so must our fiscal and financing system change, system that generates and transport electrons. So one way that we're thinking about it in the state government is leaving or abandoning behind us that kind of old dichotomy of like big government versus little government. And what we're really trying to do as an office is think about us as government, as entrepreneur, as midwifing new technologies, new policies, and bringing in new market conditions. And the good news with all of this is clean electricity, especially, is a great, quote, product. In many ways, it's better, cheaper, more versatile, definitely more efficient than some of the fossil fuels or thermal generation. And so even without federal grants or tax credits, it pays for itself over time. And I think now with storage, where electricity is in a way becoming a commodity that you can store, you can buy low and sell high, that is going to completely upend the electricity market as we know it, because we no longer have to consume it the instant that it's made. So around all of that, we are building a holistic energy finance system based on 3 principles. So principle number 1 in our office is it's all about the total cost of electricity. So we want to lower the cost of living. That's what everyone is concerned about: affordability, affordability, affordability. Principle number 2 is if you believe in what you're doing, multiply yourself. So we're a little office, we're a mid-size office compared to the rest of the country. We're kind of in the middle in terms of size, and there's no way that we can affect the whole economy of the state of New Mexico. But if we recruit partners and get everybody rowing in the same direction, our effect can be broader than just our one office working. And the third principle is we work in concentric circles. So we want to start with ourselves and then work outward from there. And for example, what I mean by that is even this morning, we've got a back parking lot. We've got a bunch of EVs that we bought as a state. We need a charger back there, and figuring out how to get what is in effect, like basically a miniature gas station connected to the grid, owned and exclusive use of government fleet, is really hard with our current procurement system. So we're starting with ourselves. And if we can figure it out for ourselves in our agency, then we can multiply to other agencies in state government. Then we can multiply out to other political subdivisions in the state, like cities and counties. So we try to solve the problems for ourselves first and then share the lessons learned. So how does SEP fit into that? So in our kind of building a tapestry of programs that work for both residential and utility scale, these are some of the things we're doing that are partially funded by SEP. And you see I've got their little color coding. So staff time, you'll see here in blue. So like basically the SEP is paying for my staff's time, or if we're actually using SEP dollars. So the first thing is growing our ESCO program. It's so nice to talk to an audience who knows what an ESCO is, and I don't have to explain, but we're growing out our ESCO program to do energy efficiency across the state. SEP pays for some of the staff time there. We're hiring energy coaches to help regular human beings navigate all of this, like if they want to electrify their home or make it more efficient or whatever. We now have a human being who can pick up the phone and call for coaching through. It's complicated. And eventually, by the way, our energy coaches are going to expand to commercial and then utility scale. We're bringing together all the tax credits, revolving loan funds, rebates under one stop shop roof. And you'll see there are 2 colors. So the paying of staff time there. And then we were actually able to use some both SEP and SEP IIJA funds to actually pay for the website itself, which was an initial build and now an ongoing maintenance. And then we've hired NIFE, the National Energy Improvement Fund, to be kind of our financial wizards in-house, because we know electricity, we don't necessarily know about loan loss reserves and interest rate buy downs and all those wonky financial terms. So we use some SEP money on the staff side to manage that, and they are going to be helping us operate our revolving loan fund, and actually maybe having more than one revolving loan fund with from different buckets of money, and making sure that they play nicely. And then NIFE is also, in the spirit of our concentric circles, they haven't done it yet, but the next step is to go out into the greater ecosystem in New Mexico and talk to all of the existing banks and credit unions about energy efficiency, and help the banks and credit unions understand that those are good loans and how to do them and what to look for. And then NIFE also, last bullet here, will provide loan loss reserves and interest rate buy downs, sometimes with their own funds and sometimes with other buckets that we have. Okay, last slide. This seems overwhelming. So how do we organize and prioritize this? We have an internal just transition strategy in our office. It's a phased approach to ensure equity and also long-term sustainability in the workforce and tech development. Basically, we don't want to take all this grant money and spend it down in a sugar rush and then have nothing to show. So phase 1 of our just transition strategy is funded by grants. The target target kind of consumers is households, low-income households, and then the business target, it's midwifing newer tech like geothermal drill bits or something. And the goal of phase 1 is to develop the workforce, the tech, and the supply chain, so that by the time we're spending down all the sugar rush of grant money, we have a buff workforce and a fat and cheap supply chain, so that phase 2 is cheaper. Phase 2 is now paid for not with grants, but with loans and tax incentives. The target in the household realm is moderate income. The target in the business and industry is expansion and implementation of the newer tech that was developed in phase 1. And the goal of phase 2 is a wide distribution and something the state can sustain for decades. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of our financial holistic tapestry, Eddy, strategy. And I will stop there and hand it back to you, Eddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Pac. I appreciate it. Manuel, it's your turn. Are you ready? All right, Manuel, you're muted, and tell us about what Arkansas is doing.
So yes, my name is Manuel Vice. I work with the Arkansas Energy Office. So right now in the Arkansas Energy Office, we don't have a person that is like 100% dedicated to this revolving loan fund EPC program. We're on the hunt for one, if anybody knows someone. Anyway, so one thing, the Arkansas Energy Office back in 2008, as Louisiana said too, we have some money left over from the ARA times. So all that money was sent to ADFA, it's the Arkansas Development and Finance Authority. They hold it for us. And then a couple years ago, they had to create this revolving loan fund. It's interesting because the revolving loan fund started as Energy Efficiency Revolving Loan Lease Fund. Then, since we were kind of building the car while we drive, we learned that create a lease program, it's complicated because then somebody has to own the property, which will make the Arkansas Energy Office owning the property if it's in case of an HVAC, let's say. And that will be under our procurement regulations. So it was a whole discussion, and it ends on eliminating one of the L's. So it's a revolving loan fund. It's not a lease anymore. Anyway, and the other problem we face here is that most of the cities wanted to make this energy audit, and then we have something called the audit shelf life. Some city make an audit and then it's on the shelf because they realize that they need more money than what they have to implement what the audit says. So that's how the loan enters here. We are under legislative framework, is Act 554. And that's kind of the one of the things that really helped this program to be successful because we are under a legal frame. So this statutory guarantee allows us to run a revolving loan fund with very low risk profile because we know that under like a best case scenario, we act under legal guarantee of these loans. And then we have eligibility. So it's for states, agencies, higher education institutions, K-12 public schools, and local governments or city or counties. So it's mainly public in the big picture. So we don't do residential loans. It's public. We don't do commercial. It's only for public buildings. So this is kind of the first filter for us. We have a floor. We might be flexible with this, but less than $250,000 is kind of not very appealing to make the loan because the math may not be the best for this. And then for the revolving loan fund, we have a 15 years payback. One difference I notice is the financial mechanics of this loan. For example, Louisiana says that they have a loan interest of 2%, if I'm correct. We do 0.4%. So it is a very low interest loan that help us to make the mathematics of the loan easier for the ESCOs. Another way that we have to control this is that we hold a pre-qualified ESCO list. So the ESCO is not like somebody can walk to a city hall and say, hey, I'm able to do energy audits and make these EPC projects. It's not like that. They have to be on our pre-qualified list if they want to apply. So that is another way to control this and minimize the risk. So the borrowers, they have to use our list. And the way it works is once a city expresses interest on the loan, on entering into our program, they sign a memorandum of understanding with us. Once they sign it and we agree on the terms, we release and we understand what they want. We are going to release the RFP only to these ESCOs. So these are the only ones that can answer. Another way to control it is now we are working with a third-party company that is helping us to review the audits and kind of helping us with the process of the connection between the ESCO and us. Like a year ago, we were like flooded with energy audits and it takes us a long time to review and connect the ESCO, and it was taking too long. So now we have a dedicated company that help us with these reviews, and they are the ones that connect with the ESCOs and resolve any question they have to just guarantee that the audit was done correctly and the math fits on what they are proposing. With a 0.4 interest, that make the cash flow neutrality, they make it faster because they only have 15 years for the long term. What else I have here? Let me check my notes. Policy driven. Well, one thing that is important for us is first we started this revolving loan fund with approximately almost $11 million. Now we have $4.5 million, kind of a slowdown. Our loan can be up to $2.5 million. They have 1 year until the completion of the project to start paying. However, if they have any issue during the construction, they can apply and say, hey, I will need a little more time than a year, and we are very flexible with this situation. And we have a 1% standard fee as an admin fees to deliver these loans. Actually, I can see here that George Buchanan from 2KB is here. They are the ones that are helping us with a review of the ESCOs. IGAs. Anything else? And that is basically what I have regarding our revolving loan fund.
All right, thank you, Manuel. So one of the questions that's come up that I'd like for everybody to address is that is your loan program authorized in statute by state statute? And then we'll go Amanda, Huck, and then Manuel.
Yeah, ours is actually not currently in state statute, but I do know there is some potential legislation that I'm kind of trying to work through, hopefully that we do not get pushed through. But the state wants to consolidate all revolving loan funds into kind of one area. So, the one thing that we look at this revolving loan fund is kind of our rainy day fund. When we need additional funding. We have it out there kind of growing, so we have money to pull from to help fund, our office activity. So I'm hoping that, we can avoid that in some way, but no, it is not in statute, in state statute at this time.
All right.
Yeah, and we have more than one revolving loan program, so I have to give you a different answer to each one. So none of them are in, well, it's complicated. So we were going to have a Solar for All revolving loan fund. Many of you know Solar for All is under litigation, so that's on pause right now. Then the EERLF is not state statute, but we are administering it as a state. And then we have kind of two private entities. So Knife may or may not bring some of their own capital to set up a revolving loan fund. They may use some of our others for that purpose because we have grant money that is state authorized. That the way the grant is written, we could use it for RLF. So we're exploring that option, like to multiply grant money further. And then we have a 501c3 called the CIC, the Center for Climate Investment Center, which is kind of like a green bank in New Mexico. And they, again, it's not authorized by state statute explicitly, but some of the seed money for it did come through state statute. So really complicated way of saying basically no is the answer to the question.
In the case of Arkansas, yes, it's going to be the Guarantee Energy Cost Savings Act. It's Act 554. So it is.
All right. And so let's go in reverse order. Manuel, you get to go first this time. Do y'all have the ability to shift state energy program funds to your loan program? And if you do, what are the conditions when you do that?
I kind of need some clarification. What do you mean? Like if we can use some money to make bigger the pot of the revolving loan fund?
Yes. If you can use some of your state energy program funds and shift them to your revolving loan fund to make that pot bigger.
Yes, we can. We actually, sometimes we have some SEP leftover money and we put it on that bucket. However, we maintain the compliance separate with both. We are trying now to expend all the ARA funds first before tackling that. We have less than 1 million, I think it's 800,000 from SEP there. And what are the conditions? Where the first is the appropriation of the funds. We'll have to go to the legislature and do the appropriation. Usually, and in my brief experience, is like well received because they know that this is a popular program for cities and counties. So they basically say, yes, let's go ahead and do it.
All right. So you generally do it when you have surplus funds in SCP left over, you roll them into the loan program?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we did last year. And that's why we have roughly, it's less than 1 million. But, first we have some, what is going to happen, but it was well received. They say, yeah, bring it. This is popular.
All right. Right.
Basically, no. Although I mentioned earlier that some of the state grant funds we have are written in such a way that we can use some of those grant dollars towards an RLF.
All right.
And the other answer to your question is we haven't done any of that yet.
Okay.
Close.
All right.
Yeah, and in Louisiana, we absolutely roll over any remaining funds from our state energy program into our revolving loan fund. We do keep our SEP funding and our ARA funding separate, just like Manuel had said they do as well, just because it's different sets of compliance and it makes it easier. But absolutely, that is one way that we continue to leverage those funds to be able to loan out more funding into communities. So.
And how do y'all assess risk in your loans? We'll start with Puck first, and then Amanda, then Manuel. How do y'all assess your risk?
Yeah, because we're the electricity nerds and not the finance nerds, our RLF is actually not administered out of this office. We have a finance authority office that we basically gave them all the money. We set up the rules, and they're the ones that determine the risk. So we sort of shared the duties. So we help them determine if a project is, energy efficient, and they worry about the risk and the payback.
It's similar situation here in Louisiana. We've, typically allowed our administrator to kind of assess that risk. Ultimately, the bond commission approves all of our loans. So at the end of the day, they get to, say, approve or deny, based on that assessment. In recent years, we have actually set up a natural resources trust authority within our agency. And their main goal is to, make sure, we have financial security within our natural resources. And so we've very much involved them on the front end to help us, not to administer the program or anything, but just to help us evaluate when we are looking at loan funding prior to it going over to our administrator.
So we have the Arkansas, the ADFA, Arkansas Development and Finance Authority. They are the ones in charge of analyze all the financial risk. But we also have a bond counsel. That, we have a pool of lawyers that help us with these too. And for the technical side, we use a consultant.
All right. So now we're going to go Amanda, Puck, and Manuel on the next question. Are most of your loans public sector or private sector? And if they're public sector, what are they, local government, school districts, or what are categories? How would you place them?
Yeah, we would love to be able, we always say it's public and private institutions in Louisiana. We've had more success in the public side, mainly, I guess, because we're a state agency and we're public. I think in the upcoming years, our goal is to kind of expand that more and be able to market out to more institutions across Louisiana and hopefully, expand it beyond just public. But let's see, most of our applications, we've done some universities, but lots of municipalities have really of what we've worked with, local governments, parish governments. And that's been kind of our sweet spot in loaning funds out.
Our RLF is open to both and it's about 2/3 governments that apply and 1/3 private sector. But actually what comes out on the other end of who actually makes it all the way through the loan process is about 50-50. So in other words, the governments have a higher interest, but they run into the wall of like Davis-Bacon, essentially, and some of the other requirements, and that is stops a higher percentage of them than the private sector.
So in our case, it's only for public sector. And it's been like changing priorities until September last year. It was like the solar arrays frenzy. Then that went a little down, and we are looking at HVACs or LED retrofits, that kind of stuff. But it's only public, mostly cities, counties. We have some school districts too. So yeah.
All right. And so Puck, and then Manuel, and then Amanda. Do ESCOs see you as competitors in terms of financing projects, or how do they view your loan programs compared to the financing that they might otherwise bring to the table?
That's a great question. No, they don't view us as competitors because we also have a separate ESCO program. So if they want to come play with us, they can apply to be one of our favored contractors and go work on universities and in jails essentially. So no, they don't regard us as competitors. There's also not a lot of ESCOs in the state anyway. We're very much a DIY state, and a lot of the work on homes, particularly people's homes and residences, is done by the New Mexicans themselves.
In our case,
oh, go ahead, Manny.
I'm sorry, Amanda, no, you.
I was just going to say we do not have any. They don't see us as competition at all. So
Yes, in our case, we are offering 0.4 interest. So for me, they saw this as a great opportunity to make business with cities and counties, Say, hey, we're gonna do it, we can do it quick with Arkansas Energy Office. So yeah, they actually the ones that are calling us all the time to see, hey, how much money is in the bucket now? Do you still have for a couple more loans? Yeah. They're all the time on that.
Very good. Okay, so Manuel, Amanda, and then Puck. Do you think every state should have a revolving loan program that they can put SEP funds into, or do you think every state should not have a revolving loan program? And explain.
So, I mean, it's a tricky question because it comes with an administrative burden. So not every state have the capacity to, However, I do see that it's kind of the states being, how to say this, like accelerate the energy efficiency wave in the states, So instead of having a more passive role, is have a more active role promoting these things because, low interest and saving warranty. So what is better than that, So yes, however, it will depend on the administrative capacity. In the case of Arkansas, it's been weird because, we have to handle everything here with AdFan, all trying to figure it out. Now that we know more how this moves, it's kind of easier, and we are trying to to disburse the money, all the money we can. But I mean, it depends on each state. Personally, I would recommend it.
yeah, I echo what Manuel's saying. I mean, in our state, it's been very, very beneficial to us to have this program. So I would encourage it, but it does come with some administrative burden, and having that set aside may take some time for you to kind of figure that out as a state on how to administer it. But being able to go in the communities and actually see the work that we're doing and what our loan has been able to fund projects within these communities, it's very fruitful and a really great way for us to just take that little bit of state energy fund that we do get over those 3 years and expand it and be able to do more projects beyond just our little programs that we're running within our office.
Yes, of course. Yes. I mean, yes, the thing I agree with what Manuel and Amanda said. There's administrative burden, but I think the benefits outweigh the cost. Plus, we're looking, long term, and we want to have programs that are around for decades, that are available. The market has seen enough volatility recently, and they need government to be a steady, reliable partner. And a grant is not steady and reliable. It's like a one-time, flash in the pan. But a revolving loan fund allows us to be there. It allows private entity to plan for it, or other political subdivisions to plan that will be around, and those dollars will be available. And then also, Amanda mentioned this and Manuel a little bit, but it does allow you to maximize your SEP dollars. So if you come up at the end of the year and you've got a little bit of SEP dollars left, then you don't have to revert it. You can just put it in the revolving loan fund, keep that money in your state without giving it back, and allows it to multiply for years and years.
And one more little thing, if Louisiana, New Mexico, and Arkansas kind of share the same limitations to personal or small offices and stuff. So if we were able to do it, I guess everyone can do it,
Good point.
All right, so now imagine you're talking to a rep or a state senator, and they say, give me 2 points that I need to present to all the other reps or senators about the loan program. What would you tell them?
Oh, affordability. I mean, that this impacts your constituents directly. It helps them lower their energy costs and it frees up more dollars. Therefore, it frees up more dollars in the community for them to buy groceries or do healthcare or get education, all the energy efficiency things. And the other bullet point I would say to the senator is it doesn't cost the state anything. Other than from the one-time infusion after that, it's free to the state. So what better program than one that doesn't really cost the state anything?
Yeah, honestly, I can say it has not cost our state anything because of the fact that we've used all federal funding, to stand up ours. So that's a really great point. I'd echo the affordability. In Louisiana, we always talk about resiliency. So, I mean, that's another, strong talking point that we've been able to go in communities and actually build, back, more resilient communities than we had before.
So it's easy because here in Arkansas, we have a lot of need, and all those projects are simply cities and counties or school districts are not going to be able to do it without our help. So there's a lot of need, and if we don't put that help up, they're not going to be able to do it. So, I mean, it's going to be their decision.
All right.
And,
And then the last question would be, and we'll go Amanda, Manuel, and Puck, is I'm again that state rep asking you for asking a follow-up question. Aren't you worried about defaults and the defaults impact on the state? How do you mitigate that risk?
No, I mean, I think that we've had a program for over 20 years and we've had no defaults to our loans. We do enough of a risk assessment up front that we understand, what we're getting into with each community that we're working with. And so we've had a track record of no defaults. So I don't feel at all uncomfortable with saying that to a representative. I feel very, confident in our processes that we have in place.
yes, and in our case, we're backed up by legislation. So that is kind of our safety net. So in this, it was called the Guarantee Energy Cost Savings legislation. That's where it's kind of putting the burden of this on the ESCO. So the ESCO have to do their math correctly. That's the technical side. And the financial side, we have the support of ADFA. So it's basically no risk.
What makes these kinds of loans unique is that you loan the money, people go buy the thing or do the thing, and the thing saves them money. So, like whether it's electrification or efficiency or insulation, whatever it is, and so it's defaults are very, very rare because after the person has the thing or does the thing, they have more money in their pocket to pay you back. So Amanda's track record is the point of it. So one, it's not like loaning for a car where the moment you loan for the thing loses value, right? As soon as you drive the car off the lot, it's lost a ton of value. That's not the case with a sealed envelope at a school and a great new HVAC system. The other thing I would say about defaults is a defaulted loan is a grant. Basically, you still have the thing, right? You still have the heat pump or the insulation or whatever you've paid for, and that thing will continue to benefit the community. And hey, legislature, don't you vote for grants all the time? I mean, it's the same thing.
All right. And so if y'all three could give me a thumbs up, is it okay if somebody who's attending this webinar, if they have follow-up questions, can they contact you directly? All right, thank you. Sam, do we have any other questions in the chat box?
No, it looks like we got to everyone's questions today.
Perfect. Well, thank you for attending this webinar and thank you for joining us. Now, Caitlin, we have some other committee calls that are in our YouTube channel for NASEO. Can you put that link in the chat box, please?
Yes, I will. Just give me 1 sec.
So if any of you want to learn about other things that we've talked about throughout the year, this will be the location where you access that information. There you go. So quickly copy down that link. And Thank you to everybody for attending. Sam, would you like to close this, please?
Sure. So thank you everybody for being here and thanks for being with us throughout the whole year. We'll be back in February and March with more financing calls, so stay tuned. And from all of us here at NASEO, just want to wish you a safe and happy holiday season, and we'll see you in 2026.
Bye.
Happy New
Happy
Year,
holidays.
Take care,
y'all.
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.